Thank you. I'd like to, it's good to see everyone. We haven't had a meeting since the March break, so I hope everyone had a great holiday and rested and ready to finish off the school year. Just a couple of things that I want to mention just before we begin. You'll notice we're using a different camera system tonight. When we have our schools making their presentations, just a reminder, Ian and Susan, if you can just sort of turn to the side a little bit so the cameras can shoot through, and that would be wonderful. And we've been having some problems with our microphones. Just remember that, keep our laptops away from the mics as best we can. When you're going to speak, lean forward as much as possible. And one other thing that was just brought to my attention, that if you were to cough or sneeze and you're close to the microphone, that will override the speaker. So just, if you feel a cough coming, just lean back a little bit, okay? So those are just little things to pay attention to. So I'll ask the director to do a roll call, please.
Trustee Buckland. Present. Trustee Carton.
Present.
Trustee Garrow. He's at an Ankmasasti board meeting tonight. Trustee McPherson.
Present.
Trustee McAllister. I know he's online.
Yes.
He said hello.
Yeah.
Vice Chair McDonald.
Present.
Vice Chair McMillan.
Present.
Trustee McRae.
Present.
Chair Peterman is on the line. Trustee Richards.
Present.
Trustee Swan on teleconference.
Present.
And Student Trustee Tyler Harbers.
Present.
Great. And just again, another reminder to those of you that are online, if you may have to use the mute button at times if there's some things going on around you, and just so that we don't pick up on some of the things that are happening at home or wherever you happen to be. So but also remind yourself to turn the mute button off when you want to speak. Okay, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda item 3.02, 3.03, March 26th. Okay, Trustee McDonald, Trustee Kartner, just cast your votes.
I'm in favor. I'm just not up here.
Okay. Okay, we don't have them all in, but I'm assuming that's going to work. Any conflict of interest? Seeing we have none, need a motion to move into Committee of Whole. Moved by Trustee Richards, seconded by Trustee McRae. We'll just cast your votes, please. You're okay with that?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, the first thing we have on our first item is the Stewart School Success Plan presentation. I'm going to ask Superintendent Susan Edwards to introduce the Principal Darrell Kelly.
Thank you, Trustee McMillan. It's my pleasure. Before I turn this over to Principal Darrell Kelly, just to give you a little bit of background, Superintendents Victoria Hemming and David Kuhn and myself conducted an audit over the course of about 3 days at the end of January and beginning of February. Throughout that time, we collected a number of data, had the opportunity to speak to parents, teachers, support staff, and community members. A common theme I think we heard throughout was that Stewart School, and as a student said, a grade 4 student, this Stewart School feels like home. And that was a common theme we saw throughout and heard throughout. We saw that the student work reflected that, their thinking and their ideas, right from the foyer as you entered into the school, throughout in the library, student work and student thinking and student involvement was there within the halls and within the classroom. So I'd like right now to turn this over to Principal Darrell Kelly, who's here with her Vice Principal, Callie Lynn Green.
Thank you. Come forward.
That's the way.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to share the story of the Stewart School. I'm also pleased, as Mrs. Edwards did, to introduce Callie Green, our Vice Principal, and to extend regrets from our School Council Chair, Susie Taberge. As you can see from this slide, the Stewart School is a beautiful building. The spacious playground, large trees, the Tay River, and the view of the oldest golf course in Canada only add to the beauty. These things are easy to see and to celebrate, but my goal here this evening is to share the story of the real beauty that unfolds on a daily basis within this building. The new Stewart School is located in the town of Perth and opened in June 2006 to replace its aging predecessor. It has been a dual-track school all along, with an English program with core French instruction and an extended French program from grades 5 through 8. The extended French program is in its final 2 years, as indicated by the red numbers on the table, as early French immersion is now our board's model for extended French instruction. John Gow opened the school as principal, followed by Brenda Tennant, and I have had the pleasure of being the principal at Stewart since 2011, February. The next school year of 2014-15 will bring many changes to both the Stewart School and the Perth family of schools. Next year's grades 7 and 8 students will transition to Perth and District Collegiate Institute, creating a new 7 to 12 school, and an early French immersion program will be introduced to the Stewart School for kindergarten through to grade 4, creating a second site in Perth and transitioning many students from Queen Elizabeth School to their new home school, Stewart. Also, we will work, as in other years, to transition our newest and youngest learners from home to begin their educational careers. When we began to craft our school success plan for this 2013-14 year, we knew that we wanted to pay careful attention to the transition of our school from a K-8 model to a K-6 model, but more importantly, we knew that we had to focus on the students. We wanted to ensure that they would pay attention, that we would pay attention to careful planning around our intermediate students moving to the high school, while also ensuring that our younger learners experience the same commitment to planning and support around their transitions. Our first goal was created. Our second goal was easily determined as we had many discussions around math and had examined a variety of data, report card marks, EQAO, observations, and conversations, and we knew that we wanted to get better at both teaching and learning math. Our third goal, focus on wellness, clearly reflected the needs of our students, our school, and the greater community. Data from our culture scans, parent council, student surveys, community meetings, and other forms of education clearly indicated that we needed to pay attention to wellness. And finally, as we looked to articulating and clarifying our three goals, we wanted to ensure that the language represented our planning for and commitment to the needs of all. All means all. I remember once being told by a mentor principal something to the effect that an idea that is told to a team of people is never going to be acted upon as effectively as one that is created by that team. We have continued to use and to value that wisdom. These are some of the members of our school team, and these are the people who have worked and continue to work on our school success plan and its implementation, all for the purpose of increasing student success. At the Stewart School, all does mean all. All voices are heard, and we are truly a collaborative team with a collective vision focused on our students. You'll see the dotmocracy here at the foot of the table. Honoring the student voice is also important at the Stewart School, and we have attempted to do that in a variety of ways. We have an active student council who work with school staff to share and implement their ideas with respect to academics, athletics, and the all-important social aspects of school. Students are actively involved in planning and preparing healthy snacks for monthly distribution within our school. And also, as per the dotmocracy, all of our students have had an opportunity to have their individual voice heard through our process of dotmocracy, once in choosing a student-designed school logo, and most recently, choosing an African charity to donate our profits after a most successful sales campaign of African bronze honey. Annual EQAO results give us an incredible amount of valuable data. Initial response to our achievement data gave us simply a place to start. I had the good fortune of attending a full-day seminar by Michael Fullen about a year ago, where he was sharing his most recent publication called Putting Faces to the Data. His message and his book resonated with me then and continues to do so. Numbers are important tools in looking at results and trends, but in a school we need to know much more than that. We need to know the who needs what, so that we can determine an appropriate and timely response. We delved into the who question as a school team, initially identifying the numbers and programs in each grade level as noted at the bottom of this slide, and then divisionally further to craft a plan around increased achievement for those individual faces. Plans have included weekly professional learning community meetings, weekly school success team meetings, response to intervention groupings, after-school reading and writing programs, an Olympic-style mathletes competition, precise classroom teaching and learning, followed by a regular return to the data to assess our progress. After looking at and planning around the initial achievement data, we looked further into the contextual data. Here we see some very encouraging information. Our results show that of our students in grade 6 last year, 67% of them met the standard in reading in both grades 3 and 6, and an additional 14% of those students met the standard in grade 6. 61% of these students met the standard in writing in both grades 3 and 6, and again, an additional 19% met the standard in grade 6. Data also shows that the gender gap is next to nil between boys and girls in grade 6 reading, and that our boys' results continue to trend up. Students at the Stewart School are learning. In striving to achieve our first goal of successful transitions for all of our students, we believe that we are addressing the critical success factors in communication by facilitating parent involvement, student achievement in all programs, and public confidence by being clear, purposeful, effective, targeted, and branded. With regard to resources, we have also focused our transition work on creating an engaging learning environment, supporting student achievement, and sustaining public confidence by allocating our human, material, and financial resources equitably, responsibly, and in a timely fashion. I present to you the faces on the data around these transitions. La journée du bonhomme carnaval. Durant la récréation, nous avons tous dégusté de la tire sur la neige. Tous les élèves et les professeurs ont décoré un masque pour porter au bal masqué. Opportunities to learn and grow in a variety of programs, providing additional engaging and bonding experiences for students. Transitional activities for our grades 6, 7, and 8 students at Perth Collegiate. And preparation and practice for transitions beyond their school days. A community spaghetti dinner where more than 50 students demonstrated service to their community, serving 316 dinners, including 23 crock pots of sauce and an unfathomable number of bags of spaghetti. And a tangible demonstration of generosity as students reach past their own community to the continent of Africa in an act of moral responsibility with their fundraising efforts. As a response to our second goal, improved teaching and learning in math, the main critical success factor was identified as being certain that we could provide an educational program, both relevant and challenging, delivered by qualified, innovative, caring staff, and supported by pertinent and engaging professional development. As we continue to strive to achieve this goal, our work data reflects purposeful, planned schedule for our professional learning community meetings, as put into place to address the needs of students with a focus on math. We have looked deeply at our EQAO math results, identifying the individual faces who require very little additional support in order to help them achieve at standard. Students are proud of their improved accomplishments, and teachers are assessing student work using their products, but also the rich observations and conversations. To achieve our third goal, awareness of opportunities for, and strategies to engage in improved wellness for all, we understand the critical success factor as being able to recognize, model, and encourage all types of wellness in order for each of us to be able to function at an effective level. Our students, school family, and community continue to work and plan together as we aim high in attaining this wellness goal. Our faces on the data are engaged in physical wellness with competitions and opportunities for learning a lifelong physical pursuit. All means all in this classroom as Stuart the Stallion looks on proudly as this little fellow builds upon his intellectual wellness. Emotional wellness continues to grow as students build their self-esteem by learning about and making healthy choices and working together with their peers to prepare and provide a healthy snack for all of our students. Our faces on the data here demonstrate spiritual wellness with the release of a monarch butterfly after careful tending of eggs, larvae, and pupa in the classroom, and the creation of environmental art in the great outdoors. I feel privileged to be here tonight representing the Stuart School to share and to celebrate with you our goals, our plan, our work, our strengths, our challenges, and our changing landscape. As you see before you, a celebration of our students' products in the showcase with an electronic frame in the center that highlights student observations and conversations. I feel confident in telling you that we do have a plan, a good one, that keeps getting better with the input and the work of all of our stakeholders. Our students are learning, and they are engaged. Our school environment is safe, caring, and inclusive, and focus on student well-being. And our home and community partnerships continue to support and celebrate all that is the Stuart School. Thank you for inviting me to share the story with you.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Trustee McPherson.
Yes. A few years ago, you still had I'll call it a systems classroom. Can you describe some of the challenges you've had with, I believe, your full integration now?
Yes.
I know that some people are a little hesitant about losing a resource like that. Can you kind of elaborate on some of the things you've done to accommodate those students within the regular classroom?
Certainly. The February of 2011, when I arrived, the system designated classroom was still somewhat in place in that it was students were accessing it for half of a day and then in the regular classroom for the remainder of the day. Since that time, it has been full integration, and certainly I believe that our full school staff is well aware of all of the different supports in place, which include from the administration, the teachers, educational assistants, lots and lots and lots of system support. And in fact, as part of the report, it was really pleasurable for me to be able to write down all of the different system people who had helped not just with the integration of students who had been in the SDC, but with all of our students that may present with special needs at any point in time.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? Anyone on the phone lines? Trustee Buckland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. I'm interested in the math area, and you mentioned that you had a math focus on the Pupil Learning Committee. So my first question is that held during the school day? Through you, Mr. Chair, is that all right? Yeah.
Hmm?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
Yes, it is. Certainly, we knew that that was a plan we wanted to have in place for this school year. So as we began timetabling over the summer months, we ensured that the last two periods of day 5 There were no itinerant teachers scheduled in any classroom. So therefore, each week we have a division of teachers come together. Their classes are covered by, for example, 2 French teachers, a music teacher, and one of our LRCs. And the division of teachers come together around planning, assessing student work, creating lessons, and looking at the EQAO data to find out exactly where it is that we need to focus our energies. As well, the hub process this year has been hugely helpful in helping to steer our thinking and our learning, and has focused a lot of our individual PLC work on those topics as well.
Thank you. The second point, Mr. Chair, was the measure of improvement. Now, is there board recognition for improvement or some external recognition through the ministry? Is a question I have. How do you measure improvement in the math?
Through you, Chair. In a variety of ways. Again, we looked at a lot of different data. The second last slide, where it showed EQAO results, and a number of the numbers were highlighted in red, those students were achieving very close to standard. So we would take a look at those questions to determine what is it that we need to do in order to see improvement. Report cards are a source of data that we can use and focus our teaching and learning to see it, whether or not there are improvements in the marks there as well. Certainly the teachers do a very good job of collecting the data, returning to the data, and again, individually, we bring back the student work and the data to collectively look at it to see whether or not we're making gains in the student learning.
Okay, thank you. So my conclusion then is that there's an informal measurement of improvement. There's nothing by the board saying you've reached a standard 3 as a teacher in math, or recognition by the ministry, or increase in salary, anything of that sort. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Karkner.
Thank you once again for your presentation, and I'm just curious, when you say that students have met standard, is that provincial standard? Is that our board's provincial
Yes,
standard?
it's the level 3 EQAO standard is what I was referring to.
As a follow-up, Chair,
Certainly.
could you just explain what you mean by, on the slide that shows the reading at 67% met standard in grade 3 and 6, and an additional 14% met standard in grade 6? Can you explain that to me,
Certainly.
please?
Yes. What that means is, and I don't have the other slide back up, but if 61% of students achieved standard level 3 or 4 in both grades 3 and grade 6, so the 61% had neither gained nor lost in terms of their achievement level, but in addition to that, the additional 17 or whatever the percentage was, they achieved standard over and above those who we would have hoped would have maintained standard at that point in time.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it? You got it now?
Yes.
Any? Trustee McCray?
Through you, Chair. When I look at this slide about EQAO, and I look at grade 6 math, I see it at 40%. Is that correct?
It is actually 48%.
Okay. As we move forward with our goals in mathematics, as a school, what are you anticipating by the end of this year, or next year even, where we want our grade 6s to be? Like, are we moving up in terms of percentages? Like, should our goal not be that we hope by next year, we're up at 50, or we're, it's one thing to say to improve, but to what? Like what do, and we're talking about standards as well. Like, shouldn't we be saying, by the end of this year, we want our grade 6s at a certain level? I know that the testing is done 3, 6, and 9, but is there a way that we can test that so that we know that our students are at that 50% and then 55% and then 60? It's just
I'm going to get the director to address that.
Well, first of all, this is complicated, and I think we could say we're going to have all the kids at 75% levels 3, 4 by such and such a date. The Ministry of Education has done that. They've said that, and although we're not hearing a lot of talk about it now. The issue that we have right now, and I hope to engage Ian in this conversation, is that we have a North American issue with math instruction that is of crisis proportion. We have people teaching math who last took a math course potentially in grade 9 and really have proved the fact then that they really didn't like it. We have not just our board, but throughout North America, we almost have a math-phobic divisions. What we're doing right now is that we're spending a great deal of time and energy with our teachers one is to culturally bring them into math and demystify it so that it's no longer a textbook, turn to page 3 and follow that because we knew it wasn't effective. But what we're doing now, and I know that Daryl is doing this in her school, is there is a significant amount of money that resources we're putting into actually getting at the heart of the issue. I think we're near the stage where we could go to schools and say, we would like to see an improvement in your school based upon the teacher capacity that we built significantly, that we think that at such and such a school, with the change of instruction and the engagement, that we could say at Daryl's school, we think that that should be 70%. I think we have the guts to say maybe even next year. But I don't. This has been a very, very difficult issue, and some of the schools that have had high performances are really because teachers really had a good affinity for the instruction. I know right now, I was in one of the schools, we had a math hub going on the other day, and I would say that there is early signs that the investment in building teacher capacity and engaging them in integrated mathematics instruction is working. And in fact, Ian alluded to the other day for me that we're actually seeing some early signs that this is really taking root. So not to surprise you, Ian, and not to put pressure on you, Daryl, but Ian, would you like to comment on where we are at the point where we can actually draw a line in the sand and say we expect a school or classroom to be at such and such a level? Because I do sense that there is a growing frustration in our communities, but let's get this right.
Yes, I also think
Certainly.
we've tried to take a very precise approach with our mathematics. We spent considerable time studying where we thought the biggest challenge in mathematics was. We've identified linear patterning and algebra, as well as some basic numeracy. There seem to be some key concepts that we're really lacking. That being said, there's a lot more work to be done in mathematics. This is not a one-shot magic bullet. This is a long, full effort, full focus campaign. We're looking at our results specifically in linear patterning and algebra. How that translates on an overall EQAO score would be really pure speculation at this point. But we've pre-tested this cohort of students, something EQAO doesn't do, so that we can measure where they were at the start and where did they wind up on their actual EQAO, so we can student by student measure the improvement. What's challenging about EQAO is cohort to cohort. So it's a different group of grade 6s in the following year. We would hope as a system, as we start to have things routinized, that we can start to see a percentage score. I think that's probably a year or two away. We're really focusing specifically on linear patterning and algebra. We're doing it student by student. We're focusing on grade 6. We're monitoring the progress of all of our teachers, the math talk in the classroom, a rather rigorous cadre of assessments to judge our process. So I think we can demonstrate our improvement. Whether it translates this year into a number, to predict exactly what that would be somewhat arbitrary.
Thank you.
Chair, I have one question, please.
Just you're going to do a follow-up with Trustee McCray, and we'll get you in a second, or Trustee McAllister.
Okay, thank you.
Just one other comment I wanted to make, Chair, and I agree with everything David and Ian are saying, but I think, it's not just a matter of, putting our finger on one specific thing that has got us to where we are with math. There is a real misunderstanding about articulating the curriculum in math as well.
Yes.
And I mean, there was an article just today that came out about our Minister of Education stating that, you know, we should be going back to the times where our students learned times tables. And if you look at the curriculum and the articles that was published today, it goes at length's ends, you know, on the language that is used in the curriculum and the misunderstandings that teachers have in interpreting that.
Certainly.
So I just wanted to add that to the
Thank you, Director.
comments.
If I may, and I think, Trustee McCrae, you've got a good handle on the situation. But the fact is, the Globe and Mail article a month ago, I believe a month ago, Victoria probably read it too, two of the leading math gurus in Canada, one from Manitoba and the other person, I think, from Nova Scotia, two leading experts, actually in Memorial in Newfoundland, and two had absolutely competing, diametrically opposed solutions that someone's going to grab. And I'm not sure it's that simple. I think the issue of math literacy, of technology literacy, of character literacy, of reading literacy, all of these things are coming together. Is, I think, the most important thing I heard from Daryl in her presentation is that she has significant evidence that says the kids are learning and improving. What we have to do, we've got to get this right. And what we're banking on right now isn't that we're going to go back to Dad and Mom driving down the road and firing flashcards up at the kids in the back seat to keep them behaved. I'm not sure if that was the thing that led to where we are today, that somehow you can memorize all these things and then go out and become an engineer. I think it's more sophisticated. And for us to at all pretend for a moment that that we've got the right answer, I think is really difficult. I think we have to recognize here that that we have people who say, I'm just not good at math. Well, the sad thing is I'm not just good at math. Those people are teaching our kids. And what we have to do here right now is we're retraining an entire cadre of teachers to say it's not good enough to say you're not good at math. We have to teach this. And so right now, and I know that Daryl has talked about this, she is deeply engaging her staff in building capacity to not only to learn. We have people who have to learn what they're instructing for the next day. So we actually are looking at a teacher in a grade 6 program who says, I don't even get this, but you've got to get it because tomorrow you're teaching it. And so I'm painting a picture for us of optimism, because we're not in any denial saying blaming the kids that the kids aren't bright enough, because I think in the history we'd have said, well, if those kids have been sharper, they'd have got it. We're really recognizing we're a part of the problem. And being a part of the problem, we're digging into changing teachers' attitudes, inspiring people to dig deeper into this, and not just sort of have that gloss look over their face when mathematics starts as you go through. And I'll say this from a pedagogical perspective, and we have many good teachers around the table. This will not be solved with purchasing the next Pearson text or purchasing the next text. This is going to be solved by educating our teachers about how good instruction in math looks like. And it's going to get back to manipulating numbers. It's going to get back to, as Ian said, algebra. It's also going to get back to some degree of some basic memorization of skills. But I'm not so sure if how we did it in 1964 was the right way then either, because our graduation rates at that particular time were some of the lowest in the history of Ontario. So I think we've got a really compelling thing to get at, and I don't think we're afraid to do it.
Now I know why Mom and Dad were giving me the cards in the back of the seat. Trustee McAllister.
Thank you, Chair. I think we are digressing from the agenda. If we want to put mathematics on the agenda, then we should do so at a different time. But right now, I think the focus should be on the Stewart School. And I have a question for Principal Darrell. You are now a K-8 school, and next year you'll be a K-6 school. How do you see that being different, and how are you planning for that difference?
Our planning began last year in June, as we knew that this was an eventuality. Certainly, we've focused as a community of schools, as a Perth family of schools, in terms of the 7 to 12 transitions. Many transition activities have already taken place. Certainly, many more are in the works. The parent consultative meetings happened early on this year. Our students are excited. They're very excited, and the really nice thing, I think, for our Perth community is that we are not the pioneers in this. We've had successful transitions right across the board. where other students and parents and families are very, they're pleased with the model. They're delighted. So our kids are going in on those coattails feeling very positive, as are the families, and as is the staff, both at the high school level and at the elementary school level, recognizing that this is an opportunity. In as much as we'll miss our 7s and 8s, it's an opportunity for them as well moving forward.
Thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions?
Thank you. I look at your school success plan. You have your 3 goals identified. Your transition, as you talked about it, the increased focus on teaching and learning of mathematics across all grades, and then the awareness of opportunities and strategies to use improved wellness. In those 3 goals, I don't see. I'm having a hard time making some following the presentation. We look at slide 5 when it talks about your EQO results. Current state EQO, grade 3, grade 6. Seem to be doing good in grade 6, grade 3 not so good. And I would agree with Superintendent Carswell that it's difficult to look at it from cohort to cohort, but if we look at historical data, how did those grade 6 students do in grade 3?
Through you, Chair. Some of that data certainly translates in the next slide, where it shows clearly the grade 6 reading and writing. That same 67 or 61% in each of those 2 areas for EQAO, they stayed consistent, and then additional success was achieved by additional students at the grade 6 level.
Okay, so let's talk about this slide then for a second. If I go back and I look at the EQO results, in 2009, 2010, that's when those grade 6 students would have been in grade 3. In reading, currently it's at 80%, it was at 83%. In writing, it was 83%, now it's at 81%. In mathematics, it was at 85, now it's at 45. Does that show that on this slide?
No.
And I also don't understand, why are you singling out boys? Because it doesn't seem to be one of your goals.
I think just in taking a look clearly at the contextual data, certainly I, Mrs. Green, we're very proud of our school and certainly want to make sure that just the initial numbers showing the lower results, certainly for the grade 3 cohort, and the need to improve in math for the grade 6 cohort, certainly we want to look at the positives that are happening as well, and that is one, because as compared to board and province, the boys have not been traditionally achieving as high as the girls in the reading. So that was something that I felt was important for us to share with our staff and our community, to say this is something, somehow you're doing things right, in that the boys are in line with the girls in terms of the reading literacy.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Oh. Yes, you can.
Thank you, John, for the question from way down there at Hilton Head. It proves it's proof that you're not just looking at the data on your scorecard of your golf game, but you're also. Thank you. I wanted just to take that a bit further. The transition, Daryl, you've done a wonderful job leading that. Trustee McPherson and I attended a meeting recently where the two of us, we're not quite sure. Sometimes you get the parents' meetings about moving kids to different schools, whether you keep your car running and your doors open. And both Trustee McPherson, I won't put Trustee McPherson use his own words, but I was extremely proud of the leadership that you displayed. And although you graciously have said that, the other schools have gone before you, it's not as tough an act. I would say from my perspective, when I snuck in the back of the room and watching how you conducted things there, you were a purposeful leader, and it was clear to me, and I think to other people in the library at Stewart, Queenie, that you knew what you're doing and the parents trusted you. And I'd just like to thank you for the demeanor, the poise, and the way you conducted yourself. It was well done. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Daryl and Callie, thank you so much for your presentation.
Welcome.
And you're welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting, or if If you're smart, you'll exit. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask now Superintendent Hemming to introduce Kelty Grant and Iroquois Public School Success Plan presentation.
Thank you, Trustee McMillan. It's my pleasure to introduce Kelty Grant, Principal of Iroquois Public School. Superintendent Charlotte Patterson, David Coombs, and I had the pleasure of spending a few days at Iroquois. We spent time interviewing parents, students, teachers, staff, community members, and also spent time with Kelty seeing evidence, both quantitative and qualitative, of student learning, student engagement, and student wellness. And I think you're going to hear that Iroquois has been on a very successful journey and continues on that journey. And so I'd like to turn it over to Kelty now.
Thank you. Welcome, Kelty.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. And the first thing that you'll notice when you arrive at Iroquois Public School is the absolutely beautiful setting. It looks out over the golf course, and the river and the Iroquois locks are in the background. We're a kindergarten to grade 6 school, and we're dual track, offering both French immersion and core. This is the second year that we've offered full day kindergarten, and it's the first year that French immersion has been available in every grade right up through grade 6. Our student population has been steadily increasing for the past several years. We're currently at 306 students, and registrations for next year look very healthy so far. Every room in the school is in use. We had our welcome to kindergarten day today, and we ran out of the little bags that we give away, so we're well ahead of where we had hoped to be at this point. We have a before and after daycare, which is used 3 days a week by the early years during the day, and this brings many parents and children into the school, and this foot in the door often leads to more registrations. And we have a great parent community, with parents taking on many roles in the school, with everything from the traditional fundraising to actually reading with students and working with small groups of students. EQAO results have been on the rise, with the exception of grade 3 math. We examine the results as a staff, and we've been really digging in to see where we're having difficulties and where we're doing well. 3 years ago, we could clearly see that our biggest problem was math problem solving. We developed a school-wide problem-solving approach at that time and really worked at it. Junior math EQAO has almost doubled every year for the past 3 years. This year, when we looked at the specific questions where most students didn't do well in math, we could see that they were doing well at problem solving, but they did not do as well on multiple choice questions and questions simply involving computations. With this in mind, we've been working on implementing strategies for understanding basic math facts, developing flexible thinking in math, and developing strategies for multiple choice test taking. This graph shows EQAO achievement in 2-year averages so that you can really see growth over time. Blending the 2 years mitigates anomalies from a particular cohort. We've been paying closer attention to contextual data. When we looked at student attitudes towards learning, we noticed some strong correlations to their achievement. For example, most grade 6 students reported that they both read math problems carefully and think about the strategy they use, and their achievement in problems on EQAO supported this belief. We're very pleased that our EQAO scores are increasing in almost all areas. In reading and writing, most students who are not at the provincial standard are at level 2. We will continue to focus on moving students from level 2 to level 3 in all areas, and we're also working to move more level 3 students to level 4. Teachers are using EQAO exemplars to show students what level 4 looks like and sounds like, and they're also using the students' own work to add details and to edit to work together to improve responses. Our school success plan is created and updated collaboratively with all staff. The goals are based on EQAO data, school success team information, report card data, culture scan information, and staff knowledge of the community. We share the school success plan with parent council and garner feedback and input from them and post it on the school website and Facebook for all parents to access. We also share the plan with student council and get feedback from them. They really enjoy providing ideas on how they can participate and what role they see themselves as playing, and they love to see themselves in the plan. Our school success plan is truly a document that we refer to whenever we have to make school decisions, especially when we want to spend money. And staff are really starting to think in terms of maybe we'll need to consider this issue as a goal in the school success plan for next year. Teachers at Iroquois Public School communicate student progress to parents either by phone call or in a face-to-face meeting a minimum of 3 times per year. Most classes send home monthly newsletters, and I send home a school newsletter and a calendar every month. Our most popular communication tool outside of personal meetings and phone calls is our school Facebook page. The Facebook page is updated many times a day with positive happenings, special events, and academics. A few weeks ago, I posted a photo of a math problem that our grade 6 students were working on, and we actually had quite a good response of parents trying it out at home. The private message function on the Facebook page is used heavily by our parent population. A frequent problem when we're trying to do safe arrival is that many families don't have a home phone and they often don't have minutes left on their cell phones. So they're now able to send messages about absences, concerns, and issues they need support with. And it also gives us a way to contact them if there's a problem or if their child is sick or hurt. We really feel like we're on a roll when it comes to addressing the goals in our school success plan. To address the need for tiered intervention for students and to improve basic math facts, we've put several things in place. Teachers are using a diagnostic tool called Prime Math to assess the skills of all students in their class. This gives us really specific information on exactly what basic skills some students are missing. Several times a week, a parent volunteer comes in and does the activities with those students, and they also work with teachers on them, and we're seeing some real progress. We'll reassess those students periodically to see how they're progressing. We're also taking part in a pilot project called Dreambox, which is a computer program that adapts to students' skill level, remediating lagging skills and moving on when the skills have been mastered. To address the needs of students who are struggling with learning to read, we're also participating in the Empower Reading pilot project. Our learning resource coach has been trained in Empower and works with small groups of students on learning to decode text. We're really excited about the progress that some of the students in the program are experiencing, and one little guy's gone up 7 levels in just 4 months. 3 years ago, when we began working on our current goals, teachers identified a significant school need as increasing school spirit, collaboration, and collegiality amongst not only staff and parents, but also amongst students. I truly feel this has been a huge success story for us. Students are able to participate in an amazing number of clubs and sports. We offer everything from Beyblade Club to chess and choir, and we even have a clown club. We're also participating in every possible sport and hold many special events. Participation in Spirit Days is almost 100%, and clubs and sports are well attended. Our very active Student Council plans Spirit Days monthly, and they also plan special events including school dances and even charity events like our White Elephant Sale. Iroquois is a very supportive community, and we've developed some strong partnerships. We enjoy fantastic support from Foodland, the Early Years, the Iroquois Public Library, and that's really only the beginning. And our newest partnerships are with Crime Stoppers, the Iroquois Golf Course, and Archie's Golf. Our grade 6 students participated in a project called Stay on Course, where students are paired with mentors from the community to learn how to golf, and the golf mentors use technology, mainly our iPads, from our students. The long-term goal of the project is to help create bonds with the community and to reinforce the character traits that students learn in school. On our parent survey this year, 92% of parents either agreed or strongly agreed that they're kept informed about their child's progress. On the other hand, only about 65% feel that school staff explains how they can help their child at home. So when we look at areas for improvement, we're looking at ways that we can communicate next steps so that parents are better able to support their child's learning. As part of our school success plan Focus on Math, we have inventoried math manipulatives we currently own, and our next step will be to order enough so that each classroom can have their own set. For professional development, all teachers have been participating monthly in professional learning communities, and we do look at data right now, but as we move forward, our goal will be to have data on the table every time so that we can monitor progress closely to see if we're on the right track. We'll continue to allocate budget money to support professional learning communities. And in our desired state, parents will be aware of the learning goals and how they can support their child's learning. Professional learning communities will continue to meet regularly using data and student work to plan for improving instruction. Gaps in basic math skills will be identified and remediated, and basic math skills will be a focus for all grades. and tiered intervention will ensure that students achieving at levels 1 and 2 are supported to move towards achieving at level 3. And we don't want to just be stuck at level 3. We'd also like to continue to move our students towards achieving at level 4. So I thought I'd finish by showing you a short video clip from our Stay on Course program. So all the photos in the video taken in this video were taken by students and their mentors, and it gives you a little bit of a sense of the Iroquois Public School spirit.
If this life is one act, why do we lay all these traps? We put them right in our path when we just wanna be free. I will not waste my days making up all kinds of ways to worry about all the things that will not happen to me. So I just let go of what I know I don't know, and I know I only do this by living in the moment, living my life easy and breezy, peace in my mind, peace in my heart, peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Anyone on the phone lines? Trustee McPherson, did you have a question? No.
Yes. Underneath your slide for current state areas for improvement, we seem to be putting a lot of focus on math tonight. Can you explain to me what the use of math manipulatives in all grades are?
Sure. Math manipulatives are things like Unifix cubes and base 10 blocks and the little clocks with the hands that move. Anything that students can use to help them figure out a math problem or math. And what we've come across is that as our population continues to grow, we were sharing resources, but we've reached the point where it wastes so much time trying to track it down that we've decided we need to have them in each room.
Trustee McDonald?
Thank you. I just wanted to go to your communication slide, or talk about communication. You show a screen capture of your Facebook, and you say you update Facebook, I think you said multiple times, or whatever the number was. Do you think it's worth it?
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, through you, Chair. It has been fantastic for our school. Even when we had our registrations coming in today, parents were saying, we just love the Facebook page. For us, it has helped parents really get a glimpse into the day of the life of their child, I think is the best way to describe it. They know what they're working on in school. We take pictures of it and we put them on. We put the fun things, but we also try to make sure that we have a mixture of everything, a little bit of all of school life. So it does take time, but it really engages the community. I think that we've gained a lot of parent support through doing that.
Yes, Paul.
So when you say the community, so it's not just parents that are paying attention to it.
Right.
How has that helped school life, I guess, or the children because of that community involvement?
Through you, Chair. I think it's hard to think of a giant overarching answer to the question, but some specific examples would be we have a turkey dinner that we serve to our students at Thanksgiving time, and because of the engagement of the community, we're able to do it because Foodland donates. I think they donated 15 fully cooked large turkeys this year, plus enough potatoes for 350 students and adults, and all the gravy to go with it. And the people we had so many people offering to help with the serving and the cooking. It was unbelievable. And I really do attribute a lot of that to people knowing what's going on. Okay, I think that you can't undervalue or underestimate how much people want to be a part of the schools if they know what's happening. I would say even the Stay on Course program, I think that the more we put on Facebook and the more the community has known about it, the more volunteers and mentors that have been willing to take on student mentees and donate the golf clubs and all the other things that have gone with it.
Okay. Trustee Kartner.
Through you, Chair, are all your parents on Facebook?
Through you, Chair. Most of them are now. There's a small handful that aren't, and we still send home paper copies of everything, and we still do all the traditional ways of updating to make sure that nobody's left out of the loop.
So the parents, to follow up, so the parents that are on Facebook still get a hard copy of the newsletter, or?
Yes.
They do. So you see yourself phasing that out, or not?
I would like to say that we would down the road, but I just don't know that we're quite there yet. I still have the odd parent who will interestingly put on Facebook when's the paper copy of the newsletter coming home. So they'll ask me that question on Facebook. So they have access to the virtual copy, but they still want their hard copy. I guess it'll be one of those things. I'll just get the pulse of the community and see when they are ready to say goodbye to it.
I noticed that you're also on Twitter a fair amount, and that's great when I get around to doing it myself. Do the students get involved in I know you had a video here that they had created or helped create. Do they get involved in other ways using technology in their learning?
Yes, they've really started doing a lot with movie making and slideshows and that sort of thing. It's not unusual now for me to go into a classroom and students will be doing a project that they've done through PowerPoint presentation or through a Prezi presentation, or they'll have a video of it. There's a lot of things. At the age that our students are at, they aren't allowed to do Facebook and Twitter. Now, that's not to say that some parents don't allow it, but we don't encourage the use of it for children their age.
Thank you. Anyone on the phone lines? Thank you so much. I want to thank both schools for being here tonight. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to get a handle and a good feel for what's happening out there. And I think you both represented your schools really well. So thank you so much, Kelvin, for being here. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item will be the Director's Quarterly Report. And I'll turn this over to our Director.
Thank you. You have a copy of some of the slides. I'd like to send some other material out around the table, further evidence of things that have been happening. But I also would like to coattail on the Chair's remarks. I think both principals have put a lot of work into what they're doing. They don't have to stay for my presentation, but I'm very, very proud of your work, and thank you for putting on the line and coming here and sharing what's happening in your schools with us. Thank you. I was going to fire this out on Facebook, but I didn't have the time to do that as the wizard.
Forgot your password?
I forgot my password. Thanks, Dave. I should go through. It's been a busy quarter, and I'm going to take you through some slides. It's been a humbling quarter as well, because there's some really good things that have been happening, and I know that the senior team's been working very, very hard, and I think we're having an impact on the things that you want us as trustees, the board, and representing the district wants us to have. You should take a look at this. In no means does this reflect the work of the senior team or the work of all of our schools in this report. But what you're going to see is, in essence, the energy, where a lot of my energy was focused over the last little while. I would like to give you some feedback about the impact of this table on the district and the system. You heard it tonight in both presentations by both principals. I think sometimes when we sit at this table, we wonder, are we really having an impact on the system and the nature of the decisions that we make here and the policies and that we pass? Are they showing up and making our schools more effective places? I would say from the evidence you saw in these presentations it is. I'll give you two examples. You heard both principals refer to something that was said at this table one time, probably about 18 months or so ago, when Trustee McDonald said, you know, do we serve them all? And all means all. And we have used that in the system in our schools as a mantra to get out there and to measure our success on how we're doing with all. I think it also ties in very neatly with something that Associate Director Carswell has said, and it certainly is coming back loud and clear when I visit the schools, is that don't judge our school on all those level 3, 4 kids. That's easy. Most of those kids come prepared at school every single day by parents who love them and care for them deeply. But judge this school and how we're dealing with the kids in level 1 and level 2 and the issues of poverty. And I think you'll see as you visit your schools that that energy from this table, from this end of the horseshoe to that end of the horseshoe, is making a difference in our communities. So although you take a look at the canoe traveling up in the frame of reference, all means all has become a clear signal to the system that we can do it. It's also become a clear statement to the system. Another thing was said at this table, we take great pride when our group of trustees said, you know that we have the opportunity in a school system, in a community, all the kids from that community are allowed to come to us. And we should work really, really hard to have our doors wide open and serve them all effectively. And so what we're looking at is the power of this table showing up in our classrooms and our communities. The other piece that we've spent a considerable amount of time on is service excellence. And what you see here under the third tab, bullet for lack of a better term, we have really started to understand it's not necessarily that we have excellent service, but we truly have to have an understanding that everyone who's with us is going to enjoy an experience that they're going to say was worthwhile. And you're going to see over the next little while the schools talking about the experience of each of our stakeholders as important as a sense of excellence in our service. And finally, if you take a look down here, the other one at this table that's making an impact on the other end of the horseshoe on our system is us really come to grips with the issue of return on investment, and where we direct our finances, does it show up in improvement of student performance? If you move to the next slide, my main area of focus, and I've had many, but you see 6 different pieces here that I've spent a great deal of time on. And that's a Charter 30, also Charter E52. Our budget has become an issue because we knew it would become an issue, is that we're taking a look at a budget that is very tight, but we knew it was going to be tight because we're spending $2.3 million the province didn't give us to expand all-day kindergarten into every one of our sites because our coterminous board did the same. And that has actually led to some really good problems that have created opportunities for us to ask some really good questions. The other thing I've been involved in, and this is the back rooms of policy and political decision making, is an issue that this board handled 10 years ago, and the legacy of it was a very smart decision, created a good future for us. But at this table approximately 10 years ago, we had a special education dilemma where Minister Kennedy, at that time the Minister of Education, came in and scooped up $10 million for special education that we believed as a group around this table was absolutely inappropriate at one level, and potentially, as several of our trustees said, was immoral at many other levels. But the fact was that particular time the Board of Trustees voted 11-0 and said to Ian and myself, spend the money and spend it wisely and build a special education program that would be the envy of the province, and that happened. And what's happened, because we spent the $10 million, we were benchmarked against the spending. Now you may remember, those who were around the table at that time, approximately every 6 weeks I was going to Toronto to get my wrist slapped, but also we defended our decisions, and we were able to deal with that. We paid back the $10 million over approximately a 5-year period of time, but the most important thing, and I'm not going to speak for Ian, but I know that both of us knew that that was a powerful moment for the needy kids in Eastern Ontario, but most importantly, we set a new standard for the delivery of special education, and we were benchmarked against that spending. The reason why I'm talking about that right now is the provincial education now is in a situation where, again, we're looking at our bank accounts and do we have enough money, and some boards of education that are talking about special education headcount spending. We enjoy a very generous amount based upon the amount of money we spent, and that has helped us, and we're at a good level. There are boards of education across the province right now that are saying that should be re-examined, that particular line in the budget, and the ones that are getting large amounts should give to the ones that are getting smaller amounts. So I have no problem with equity, and I think we as a Board of Education model equity, but what I have introduced to the debate at the directors' table is that if you open up one line of the budget, you open up them all. That you can't go there and cherry pick your favorite one and say, well, we don't get enough in special ed, they get too much, let's level it off. Because we know perfectly well in transportation and other areas of spending, they get more than us based upon formulas and so forth. So I've introduced at the senior CEO level that if we're going to pick one apple from the tree, I don't want to be a part of it, but I'll pick them all, and that may be fair. And I think also OPSPA is doing the same thing, and I think your director at OPSPA is raising those issues as well. The next piece that I've spent a great deal of time on, and I'll go into a little more detail, is our foreign students through Upper Canada Leisure Centre. And then I think magnificently, I think the senior table, we've really come to grips with understanding the accountability framework and how we can support what we think has real potential to serve the system very well. So let me start with the first part of my energy and where I've been expending it. And you guys have been the recipients of this. I have been around the system talking to each of you. I've talked to mayors, I've talked to chiefs of police, I've talked to fire chiefs, I've talked to people in Tim Hortons about our system. I've talked to people at the gas bars and so forth and engaged them in conversation about what we're doing. And what we're trying to get across here at the Upper Canada District School Board, and it has been humbling because we're getting some really great stories about things we do, but it's also has really told us we had a great deal of work ahead of us as we go through. So as I move to the next slide, I'll take a look at this one. The other thing the board gave us clear direction on, again in a unanimous vote, was that we had to come to grips with the issues of teacher performance, particularly how does the teacher's performance impact upon the student's learning or the student's performance. And we had to move our teacher professional appraisal process, move it up a grade where we start to say, how does the teacher's performance impact on what the students are actually doing? So it's a deeper dive into the activities of our teachers and a real look at the teachers who are performing at a very high level, and also to connect some of our teachers who are underperforming to the inspiration of serving your kids properly. And both Debbie Banks and Sandra Surtees and I have been involved in a series of very engaging workshops with all of our principals where we will, by the end of about 2 weeks from now, have engaged every single principal in our system and all our system leaders into a re-examination of our teacher performance process and connecting teacher performance to student performance, and then measuring that and becoming, I think, more courageous in how we take a look at it. That has been, I've spent a great deal of time at, and I'm very, very pleased. The early signs are, and we'll be talking in private session, the early signs are is that this is getting some good traction, and I think our principals are ready to move their work and their level of supervision to the next level. The next slide will take you through an area that I've spent considerable time on. Stephen Covey said you should never let a good crisis go by because it's a great opportunity to learn. And in his book on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said people who avoid crisis perhaps are losing on great opportunities to become better. Well, we have taken a look at the budget, particularly as Superintendent Nancy and I have done this, Nancy Barkley and I have taken a great deal of look at this. She spent way too much time with me and so forth, and we've been meeting weekly on this particular area and spent a great deal of time in analyzing things. And we have actually come to the conclusion that this has been really, really helpful, for our working together as a brand new CFO with a CEO, but it's also been an opportunity for us to look at some problems that we had but perhaps to disguise by really good budget work that we've been able to make a connection. And one of the probably the most important connections is that we have a team that's out right now in the field, Tracy Maillet, Don Lewis, Laurie McCackler, and Vicki Adrain, and they're going into a series of schools that have been picked at random to analyze their budgets to determine, does the budget really serve the school improvement plan? Because what we saw in this was perhaps a gap between our budget process and our strategic planning process at the school level. And what we're going to do is take a deeper dive into that to say, how can we be better at connecting the resources to what the trustees have asked us to do? And so that report will be coming back, I believe, in about 60 days. And they're out in the field right now, and Nancy Barkley and I are looking forward to that, because it's going to be very important. Again, the next slide, the provincial education direction. I've talked a bit about that, but this has been an area that I've spent a great deal of time in, because sometimes you can give speeches in the front room, but the work in the back room is critical. And I've been on the phone, I've been talking to many people across the province to make sure that the voices that are heard by the Deputy Minister and the Assistant Deputy Minister are voices of balance and reason, and it may be not just the person who sees the crisis in their backyard being more important than the work in other districts. And just for the record, as of yesterday, the Deputy Minister is coming down to spend a day, maybe 2 days here in our board to look at several of the issues that I've shared with him. And one of the issues we are going to be talking about, and I've asked Ian to sharpen his pencil, is that we are going to be talking probably for up to 2 hours on the math issue. We have a strong opinion pedagogically on the math issue. We're concerned that the flashcards are going to be purchased right across the province, and we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people thinking you have to memorize math skills and so forth. And we think there's perhaps a deeper pedagogy that should be examined, and we're hoping when the Deputy Minister leaves that we'll be able to educate him and balance his perspective, because some people think you can sort of buy a program out there and just sort of sell it to all the schools and the scores will go up. We have seen quick knee-jerk reactions give you a bounce back fast, but that if it's sustainable, it has to be sustainable for the next 10 to 15 years. Looking forward to that conversation, and I'm also looking forward to Ian pulling out all his best work so that the Deputy understands that what we're doing we believe will have long-term implications for the kids of Eastern Ontario. We also, one of the issues, and I appreciate this, and I'm going to draw attention to Charlotte, over the last couple of years working the back rooms and so forth, I asked Charlotte about, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I said, Charlotte, we need an HR superintendent's group just like the chief financial officers have. And Charlotte knew that we had to have a balanced voice at HR that would be sharing information quickly. And Charlotte did just that, and I think she's the first president of the provincial organization. And what I really appreciate about working the back rooms for that, and Charlotte did a masterful job, thank you, Charlotte, is that they've set and organized a really good group of people who now will be able to share information in a timely manner, not just about collective bargaining, but all other HR issues. And I believe the group is coming together, and I think the sign that they've received status is that both OPSPA has paid attention to what they're doing, and the other group, of course, now CODE, has one of our directors has been identified to sit on their executive, and I'm really pleased with that. I think that's going to make our HR departments across the province even stronger. Some 5 years ago, I took Jeremy with me down to OPSPA, and we shared the porthole that we've created, and we worked with OPSPA to develop their porthole, and that was really the beginning of having a good impact on the province through the good work of this board, and I'd like to thank both those guys for their leadership. It's showing up now in the work that we're able to do, not only at bargaining tables, but good decisions that we make in the HR department. The next slide you're going to take a look at is particularly we have more kids in our system now than we've ever had before from other countries, and this has proven to be really, really positive. Right now, as I sit with you, we have 60 grade 6 students from China in our school system, and then they're going to be with us for, I believe, 60 days. And I just think it's a wonderful opportunity for our kids to get a global education in their own classroom when they're rubbing elbows with other kids. And we're looking forward to potentially those young people setting up relationships. And now we know with the World Wide Web and Facebook that these kids will be friends probably for the rest of their lives with that person across, and they'll be talking to each other through many different social means we go through. The other one that I'd like to bring to your attention is something we're doing at the Opportunity Leisure Centre, because it's solely owned by this board, and any profits that are generated through it are used to come back here and serve our communities and to serve effectively. Right now we're involved in training of Saudi Arabian air traffic controllers. They've come over here and they'll be over here for approximately 18 months to get training on how to be air traffic controllers. But the first thing you have to do is their English has to be at such a level that they'll be able to converse properly in English over the system. And we have received the contract to train these right now. I say this, they're all young men. We're hoping at some point we'll see air traffic controller females from the other countries as well. But right now, those gentlemen are living in Cornwall. And the interesting thing for us as a board in Upper Canada Leger, as a board, is that those young men are living in the community and spending a lot of money. In fact, to my understanding, I was told this by a friend at NAVCAN, said that one of the individuals actually bought a house in Cornwall and is renting out to 3 of the other guys who are taking the program. And obviously he's an entrepreneur of some sort, but the fact is he discovered an opportunity while he was here. And I think that we just don't understand the potentially the economic spin-offs of that. For NAVCAN itself, who is post-Afghanistan war, is trying to figure out the Canadian military extensively used over half of the building for the last 10 years. They're looking for new tenants to help them out, and they've really appreciated our work with them. And it's quite interesting to see these young men in their training, and that's proving to be really solid. Tim Mills, who is our director of the Upper Canada Leger Centre, is doing some magnificent work. We just had a team that was in China coming back. And what he's positioning this, and Art, you'd like this, is that right now they're looking at doubling the number of students in the next 2-3 years to the neighborhood of about 700 students from foreign countries paying for their education in Eastern Ontario at the Upper Canada District School Board. The next slide you take a look at, as I referred to, is I really appreciate the determination of our trustees on the whole aspect of the trustee accountability framework. It's also reminded us that we have to be really good at listening to what you guys are paying attention to. And in front of you, each of you have the framework that it was designed originally by Principal Hanna, taken further by Principal Loshaw. Brenda Bedette most recently has had her fingerprints all over it. This is the tool that we ask our principals to use when measuring and taking a look at their school. And there's many things in there that tie in nicely with the accountability framework, but also that discussion around the table and the Saturday session with the Lee from the National School Boards Association have really energized our look at answering questions appropriately and having proper evidence from data to support what we're doing to get back to the issue of return on investment that goes through. And finally, as you take a look at the final slide I have for you, is that taking 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30, you guys are generous with me, cannot capture the work of the board. Our communications department has come 100 miles. I want you to take a look in the center of the Office of Senior Boys Basketball. It says 1,700 views as you go through there. We had 17,000 viewers, but it's actually counting because we have people going back and telling people to go back in there and take a look at the basketball. At Perth, in the final game with our communications department, we had people from all over Canada watching the final basketball game. And in the package I forwarded to you, where I get many, many notes and letters. Some are not publishable, some are not happy with us. But sometimes I get letters from people that are just absolutely pleased with the board. And I've had phone calls and I've had other emails come to me about, you know, that was just fabulous. My grandmother watched her grandson play basketball for the first time ever in Nova Scotia. We had another email that came in from a gentleman who was doing business in British Columbia, was able Nothing to do with our board. What happened was, and this was done, I thank Terry Davis for her leadership there, we sent out a message to each of the 16 teams in the final that we were going to webcast, that the games are going to be on. We sent it through the director of every single board that was there, and then they said, forward this on to your school. And what happened was the entire province lit up, because in every one of the games that we broadcast, we had people watching. And it was one very interesting comment from a mother whose son and husband were up in Perth watching this, and they found out about this. They very quickly emailed back to mom, said, you can watch this too, get on there and do this. And what I understand from talking to John Gow, at that particular time, the mother had my level of wizardry skills, and they were trying to explain to her how to hook the computer up to the TV, to line everything up, and to go into WW this and so forth. And they finally got it, and she absolutely, so not only did she watch the game, we educated her in technology, and quietly in my place, someone else said I should have done it as well. But the fact is that we've had some magnificent successes. We've had some setbacks as we go through, but as I've said, the looking at the budget and potentially what could be a problem, we've really turned it around as an opportunity to dig in deeper and become better. And when this team comes back to us, we'll be able to make comments. In your package, I've also listed for you some of the details of some new charters that we're using. The social media one is moving along really well. And of course, as I've said, the Next Level Driven 2021, I've met with each of the trustees personally about where we're going and the feedback we're receiving. At that point, I've also added another piece there about strategic initiatives for you to take a look at. I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for their support. I'd like to thank them for their due diligence and how they approach and demand from us excellence. And I said at the very, very beginning, if you're ever worried and you say, I wonder my work as a trustee, is it impacting on the system? From my perspective and the seat that I'm sitting in and the 50 or more schools that I have been in the last 3 months, the work of the Board of Trustees has gone well beyond bring your own device to school. We have some really fabulous things that are happening, and at this particular time I'll take any questions from our Board of Trustees they may have from both the presentation and also from the material that I've forwarded to you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Okay, questions, comments? Let's start with the phone lines. Anyone on the phone lines?
Yes, Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Trustee McAllister, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question with regard to the Upper Canada Learning Centre. I have gained a significant amount of education myself with regard to this program over the past couple of years, and I see it as primarily an economic stimulus to this area and to this board. And one of the things that is an impediment is the lack of homestays. In other words, we could have more students if we had more homes in which to welcome them. How can we address this a little bit further?
Through you, Chair. John, I have a real good answer for you because I spent about an hour and a half this afternoon on that very issue with Dennis Staples and members of the executive of our board members of the Upper Canada Leger Centre. First of all, what we have found out in analysis of this is that homestay parents come online because they're interested, their son or their daughter hears about another family hosting. So the vast majority of our homestay is almost word of mouth. Although we do put advertisements out and we do social media pieces, almost exclusively, Trustee McAllister, it's through word of mouth, and that has appeared to be one of our best methodologies. When kids are having a good experience and they get to know their friend from another place, they bring their friends over, the kids go home and say, why can't we have one, as you go through. And that has proven to be probably the most important methodology. A good experience shared with other people begins that. The other piece that we have found out that the people who do the homestay for the first time, that other people in the community who know them say, that may be something interesting for us to do. The other one that we've discovered, because we take students in throughout the entire year, 7 and 8 students, and this is our first time going down to grade 6, and we're watching this group of 60 kids closely. Parents will take a child in for 30 days. We had a group from Chile in as well a couple of years ago, and they find out that it was really, really good, not only for themselves, but good for the family and good for their community, and they come back. And so we're developing a pretty substantial group of people who will take students and so forth. One of our risks, Trustee McAllister, is that we've got a good group, but we do have emergencies ever so often where a family is relocated, a mother or a father gets a new job, and we have to move those things around. And we're becoming, after 10 years, pretty good at having responses to that. The other piece that we're going to engage our business community in is similar to things we're learning from some of the hockey schools and places of that nature. We may have to examine at some point becoming some of our communities, and we're taking a look right now at Cornwall, Smith Falls, and Brockville, at potentially creating dormitories that would be supervised by staff. This is being done in some other communities in Nova Scotia and Vancouver, and we're going to take a look at that. At the Upper Canada Leger board meeting this afternoon, one of the things that was determined that I've asked the senior team with that, it's not a large group of people, to come back with a report in 60 days from what other jurisdictions that are ahead with this. And through the chair, if I may go just a little further, John, to give you a little more detail that I believe you'd be interested, through you, Chair. In that particular discussion, over the last 10 years, you could say that our board, through the Upper Canada Leisure Centre, has been non-compliant. There was a moratorium created on foreign students and et cetera, and we continued to plug away through our wholly owned subsidiary to build relationships in China, Brazil, Argentina, Germany. Actually, there are 25 different countries that we built relationships in. And we are ready, and what I understand from a call I had from the Deputy Minister on Friday afternoon, and they've asked me to sit on a committee in Toronto, is that the moratorium will be lifted and we'll be able to be even more energized and move quicker into this to get at the very issue you've talked about, to see if there's potential that we could venture to build some housing, etc. So I think that because we have continued to keep our finger in this particular pie, is going to serve us really, really well. And at one time they were saying, what is Thomas doing up there in Upper Canada with foreign students, has now become what should we learn from Warren Hasasaki, the director in Niagara, and myself, who have continued to be in this area for the last 10 years, and what knowledge can we share with the rest of the province. I believe the moratorium, John, will be lifted because in Vancouver and British Columbia, there's nearly 50,000 foreign students in high schools. In Nova Scotia, in the Halifax and greater area, are over 1,400. And they're starting to do the math to realize that this is probably something, for, as you have alluded to, that can become an economic engine for Eastern Ontario.
Well, I thank you very much, and good luck.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? I just counting the slides up, Director.
I went over the 10.
I believe Champion for Kids is getting a donation.
I will make a donation to Champion for Kids. I do every pay I do, and I will make a donation to this one too.
Just want to hold you to your 19 slides. Thank you very much.
How much is it a page?
I think the chair said $10, so this is well worth it. I didn't want to hold too many in.
And I had noticed that, but I want to be fair to tell you that the chair did send me a message now to make sure that you were going to pay up. So thank you, Greg. I did notice.
Thank you for your character.
Yes. Any other questions, comments? Trustee McPherson?
I'd just like to point out that I think he quit talking on the 10th slide.
Well, I did realize at that point they're in the package, but thank you for the support.
Don't encourage him, okay? Well, thank you very much, Director, for that. And at this point, I need a motion.
Can I just say one
Yes.
final thing?
Yes.
I put a couple of those letters that have come into me, and what I'd like to do, I'd like to refer to the second letter in private session, if I may.
Certainly.
I think you deserve the opportunity to understand that one.
Okay.
And so, private session, if I may, I'd like to share the details of where that letter came from.
Thank you. Okay, we need a motion to move into private session. Trustee Kartner?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Trustee Richards? Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair McDonald. Of land described as part of Lot 3, Concession 1, Cornwall, as in S83456, S92190, containing approximately 2.57 acres from the City of Cornwall, and part of Lot 3, Concession 1, Cornwall, being part of Part 1 on Plan 52R4214, containing approximately 7.43 acres in Mostaff, in that place. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Trustee McDonald, Trustee Kartner. And I'll ask you to cast your votes. Oops, I gotta move out and come back in. Okay, and that passes. Thank you very much. Report from the Committee of the Whole Public Session, February 26, 2014. There were 4 presentations, 2 discussion items. They were and the following recommendations were brought forward to the board. And I have 4 of them, so we'll take one at a time. And again, I will read them out, and then we'll go for a motion, or one at a time, and we'll get a mover and a seconder. Okay, motion 1, that the Upper Canada District School Board approve Policy 226, Safe Workplace, Workplace Harassment, Policy 421, Violence in the Workplace, and Policy 424, Occupational Health and Safety, as presented February 26, 2014, with a final review date of March 26, 2014, to be documented on applicable policy. I need a mover. Trustee McDonald. Trustee McCray, I'll ask you to cast your votes for that. And that passes. Thank you very much. Motion number 2, that the Upper Canada District School Board adopt the report titled the 2014 French as a Second Language Review, as presented to the Board of Trustees, February 26, 2014, and the 3 recommendations within the report. Moved by?
I'll move that, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee McAllister, Trustee Kartner. I'll ask you to cast your vote.
Through you, Chair.
Yes?
A quick question. I was not at the last meeting, and I'm just wondering, what is the time frames? And I have had a community inquiry on this as to the director developing the rubric.
I don't have that in front of me, Trustee Swan. Was it? Directors just started the
room. With May.
Trustee McAllister, you have an answer for that?
May of this year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that passes. Moving on to motion number 3. That Upper Canada District School Board direct the director to present at the last May meeting a sequence of key result indicators and benchmark targets for the improvement of participation and support of French immersion in Upper Canada District School Boards. Moved by?
So moved.
Trustee Buckland, Trustee McCray. Cast your vote, please.
I didn't come out. I'm in favor of that.
You're in favor? Okay. Trustee McPherson?
I'm kind of offline here.
Okay, so you in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, and motion number 4, that the Upper Canada District School Board endorse that if there is to be the possibility of realignment to permit the introduction of early French immersion in some school/communities, that the director be asked to develop a rubric or process to do so. Moved by Trustee Buckland.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee McAllister. And cast your vote, please.
Is to be the possibility.
Yes. I'll go there. Trustee McPherson, I assume you're in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Thank you very much. That passes. Okay, the next item we have on the list, I'm going to ask Director Thomas to introduce Terry Gardner, who's going to be talking about Drop Everything for Character. Director.
Terry, welcome. And I know that you've been working around. Terry has come in and he is our principal for school and system success. And he's jumped in and is really doing a marvelous job. And thank you for what Terry's going to talk about today is another sort of culminating event in a board that is really connected to a spiritual part of the educational program, that is our students being involved in something bigger than themselves as we go through. And Terry, I look forward to what you're going to talk to us about, and have fun.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to be here to deliver this report regarding a proposed celebration of character in Upper Canada District School Board of what we do every day of the year. Some of the background around our character program at Upper Canada District School Board: it has a mature and sustaining character education program that's rooted in community collaboration and student input. Town halls were used to develop our character traits as well as student focus groups. It's prominent in this board strategic plan, reflected in the school success plans, and is assessed in our school culture scans annually. Character messaging is clear in our school buildings, both plaques that we've generated through our school board and student-made plaques and artwork, and truly our character education traits are inculcated in the curriculum that teachers deliver every day. Character messaging is clear, and we have just published our 5th book celebrating character, The Courageous Canoe. We propose to celebrate our daily character with an annual celebration of character during Education Week. It can serve as a time to reflect and celebrate the day-to-day character that we live in our schools and school communities all year long. Some of the proposed activities for leading up to that week and during that week is a primary music activity based on the song in our new book, The Courageous Canoe. The idea there being is that that primary classes and divisions can record the children singing that song and developing their own actions, and then we'll take all those recordings and do a mash-up of all those performances and then push them back out to the system so the students can see what students in other schools, other primary classes did for their actions and how they were singing the songs also. We propose a grade 4 or 5 character in my community presentation, which fits with the grade 4 or 5 curriculum also. Students will make presentations about the character that they see in their community and share it with other schools through groupings that we've made with principals with like schools and who are developing their school success plans together. But their grade 4 or 5 students will share their presentations about character in their community together. We propose a grade 6 writing competition or a competition would be the wrong word, grade 6 writing opportunity based on Courageous Canoe and the character themes. This would be a fit with the grade 6 curriculum and also a fit with teachers preparing students with some of the specific skills using things from literature to support their own ideas in preparation for the EQAO testing also. Again, in an effort to inculcate our character traits into the curriculum. We also propose grade 7, 8 pay it forward projects where students might do community cleanups. They might have other charities in their community that they're going to work towards supporting. And for our grade 9 to 12, we're going to challenge our student councils in each of our 9 to 12 schools in presenting a character recognition to someone in their community. Perhaps it's the grocery store that's very generous to them. Perhaps it's the crossing guard. Perhaps it's someone in the community that's always in the rink supporting the local teams. We're going to support those student councils with certificate and some means to buy flowers or frame a picture in their recognition. We also plan to celebrate many of our students with UCDSB Kid of Character on board bumper stickers. And we also, we've had, moving before, our Reel-to-Reel Film Festival, which has formerly been our yearly celebration of character in UCDSB. It will still be featured prominently in our Drop Everything for Character Week. Our Reel-to-Reel Film Festival this year, our plan is to live stream it on UCTV. Our plan also is to have a very special guest speaker. If the visa works out, we'll have a young filmmaker from Chernobyl coming to do the keynote at the film festival and present his film. That the Canadian Aid for Chernobyl is a very special charity for many of our schools in Eastern Ontario. I know a former school that I was at, the students were very involved in making donations to Canadian Aid to Chernobyl. And folks that have worked for that charity have come back to the school, and the students see their own clothes worn in Chernobyl. So, hey, that's my Prescott Rangers jersey. It's number 7. That's my jersey, and they see it in Chernobyl. So it's a very powerful, powerful charity. Also, I wanted to mention that we have 5 schools this year for our Reel-to-Reel Film Festival co-producing their films with a partner board in France. So 5 of our schools are together making their films in different time zones, but together with schools in France to present character in their community and character across the borders. And I'd like to, with respect, recommend that the Upper Canada District School Board adopt the first week of May as a week of celebration of character, a Drop Everything for Character Week.
Thank you very much, Terry. I noticed 7 slides. You managed in 7 slides to really get to the point of what you wanted to say. I'm not sure who had the biggest influence on you in your life, the director or your grade 5 teacher.
That's not a question you should answer.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Chair, I have one, please.
Go ahead, Trustee McAllister.
I like the presentation. I like the theme. With regard to the recommendation, I think it's limiting in a way in that one might infer that character is only in the first week of May. I would just like to add a phrase which would be at the end of the word character, as exemplified and expected on a daily basis.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kartner.
I'm sure you, Chair. I think this is a good idea. I agree that character always is every day of the year, not only in the school year. But I am concerned about the chosen week. I believe that EQAO testing takes place on the 15th or the mid-May period. And I'm just wondering if the schools would rather do this following that as opposed to before
Go ahead.
at the elementary level.
We actually have done a lot of polling about this, and this is, I think, what most of our principals would have said. I think in my conversation with you, Terry, you may have more accurate of the polling of the principal.
The principals that I've talked to agree with the theme, and so much of it is curriculum isn't diverging from the curriculum, especially the writing assignment for the sixes. That we don't see it. It's been kind of designed that it won't take a lot of instructional time. Again, it's just a celebration of what we're doing every day.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so
Through you, Chair?
Go ahead, Trustee Swan.
I too would like to see it move maybe to after the EQAO. I just know that's a week or 3 weeks prior, 2 weeks prior, depending on the school, is very busy, and perhaps we could change it to the beginning of June. I just think that would be so students can really concentrate on it and engage in the activities.
Director, I'm going to ask for your feedback on this.
Well, first of all, we've had extensive conversations with their principal leaders and so forth. In fact, they're the ones that have really led this. This is not. This should not be a distraction from the activities that are involved in the school. In fact, I think, quite frankly, it will be a refocusing to be committed to the whole process. We don't see this, as Trustee McAllister said, we don't see a great difference this week in what's happening in all our schools. We see them focused on the curriculum. The piece that we think is the connection with the reel-to-reel process, which has gained a great deal of attention, and it's a celebration for the work the kids are currently doing. But I agree, this is a question that we've had wide discussions with all of our principals, and they have told us this is where they prefer to do it. Through you, Chair.
And through you, Chair, the 3 and 6 EQO testing is the last week of May, first week of June. If it's past that, we run the risk of losing our 7 to 12, especially our 9 to 12, as they prepare for exams and enter into exam period.
Thank you. Trustee Richards?
Would it be possible to use the word celebrate or recognize before what Trustee McAllister added to the motion? Because that's really what we're doing. We're celebrating what's happening all year long, or recognizing.
Here, if I might.
Yeah, go ahead, Trustee McAllister.
Good suggestion from Trustee Richards. Maybe my phrase could be modified to read as celebrated in all schools on a daily basis, or something to that effect.
Yeah, so take the word exemplified out and put celebrated?
Yes, would that help, Trustee Richards?
To celebrate.
To celebrate?
We're recognizing the week to celebrate.
Okay, so just to back up for a second, I get the impression that we certainly do want to designate or have a week, one point in time, to recognize all of the things that we do on a daily basis. Okay, so that is a given. So it's just the timing seems to be the issue. All right. Okay, so right now, do we have it in front of me? Okay, in front of you. Drop everything? Drop everything? Yes. Are you saying to get rid of the drop everything for Character Week? Okay, here's the motion as it stands at this point in time. So the Upper Canada District School Board designates and celebrates the first week of May as Upper Canada District School Week of Character, as exemplified and expected on a daily basis. Trustee McPherson?
Okay, I'm a little. Your top title says
Drop everything for a week?
Drop everything for Character Week.
Okay.
We're not dropping everything for
No,
Character.
that's okay.
We're going to continue preparing our students for the oncoming challenges Okay, so this is not like a week-long recess,
No.
as much as
At
they
all.
would love that at that time of year.
Okay. And I certainly understand that now that you've made, and I know what you were getting at. Okay. So in the motion itself, we're not suggesting anything about dropping
No.
things for a week. It just happens to be the title of the slide. And I'm assuming that
We can change the title too.
the title probably would be a good idea to change it in light of the fact that this is a critical time of the year and we do not want things dropped. It's basically being integrated into everything we're doing. Okay.
Maybe they can build snowmen that week because
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure.
exactly.
Yeah, we could.
Okay, so do we have any problems with suggesting they drop that? Everyone's okay with that? Drop everything for Character Week. All right, so having that out of the, if that's not in the picture, let's take a look at the motion again. And what I'm going to ask for, we'll stick with that week right now. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder in a second. So I'll read it one more time. The Upper Canada District School Board designate and celebrate the first week of May as Upper Canada District School Board Week of Character as exemplified and expected on a daily basis. Do I have a mover? Trustee McDonald, Trustee McCray? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a vote on that. It's not coming up yet. No. Oh, it's like we dropped it too. Okay, so can we, yeah, I see that. We've had a lost connection. Can we have a show of hands? Those in favor? One, two,
I'm in favor.
Trustee, okay. Opposed? Okay, that carries.
I'm in favor as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Trustee Swan. That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, next on the list is the, I'm going to ask Phil Dawes to come forward, the trustee determination and distribution report for 2014 election.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, this is simply continuation of the original report that was presented through Committee of the Whole. Since that original report, we've received updated and final figures from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation and applied those to the table that and distribution that trustees previously approved through Committee of the Whole.
Went too quick on this.
I'm sorry, I was on another discussion here. I apologize, Phil.
Through you, Chair. This originally came to Committee of the Whole with preliminary Municipal Property Assessment Corporation data that was applied for discussion by the board. It was agreed through Committee of the Whole that trustee distribution would maintain itself through currently existing ward structures. Since Committee of the Whole meeting, we've received the final MPAC population data, and it hasn't changed any of those distribution figures. So we're simply suggesting and believe that trustees will carry through with the original recommendations that were approved through Committee of the Whole.
That certainly makes sense. Any comments or questions?
I was just going to move.
You going to move for that? Okay. And a seconder? Trustee Cartner? Okay. Do I have a motion to read here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read the motion. We've already had the movers. Canada District School Board refrain from designating any municipality as low population area for the purpose of 2014 election, and that the trustee determination and distribution for the 2014 election remain as per the 2010 election. Thank you very much. We've had our movers. I'll ask you to cast your vote on that.
There's no connection.
Show of hands, those in favor. It's okay, I like the old-fashioned way. Those online in favor?
In favor.
Opposed? carries. Thank you so much. Okay, next item is OPSPA policy resolution, constitution amendments. I'll turn that over to David McDonald, our director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Every year at this time, or at least within the month of March, is an opportunity for boards of education, district school boards, to bring forward resolutions, policy direction changes, I guess, bylaw amendments that might be proposed by member boards for discussion. I'll just give you the rationale for bringing it forward at this time of the year, and then where it ends up. In the spring, we have a board of directors meeting, usually the last weekend in April. This year, it's the first weekend in May. They want member boards to be able to provide the OPSPA office and the board of directors, first of all, executive council, and then board of directors, an opportunity to review that at the board of directors meeting at the end of the month. And then based on that feedback, or based on the discussion at the board of directors meeting, it would move forward to the AGM. Typically, the AGM is the first week in June. This year, it'll be the first week in July, to coincide with the Canadian School Board Association conference. In the past, the Upper Canada Board has submitted resolutions to OPSPA, and I think you recall last year we submitted 2 or 3, I can't recall. But one was to have a meeting of the chairs on a regular basis, and OPSPA to facilitate it. And the other one was to move forward to have OPSPA be the voice for negotiations around labor relations, given that it would, at that time, probably move forward as a provincial discussion item again. So this meeting, this agenda item is an opportunity for us as a board to determine if there's anything that we'd like to change or propose to change, I guess, to the bylaws, and or any policy resolutions that we might bring forward. So I'll open it up to the floor if there's anything in particular that trustees might have, and then I would be glad to have some discussion on that if there's anything.
Trustee Gardner?
Is there anything as director that you feel that you would want to see us bring forward from your discussions as board of directors?
One of the things that I had a discussion with Chair Petersman about after our last board of directors meeting in February, it came to my knowledge that Toronto District School Board had not paid their membership fees as of February. We, as a board of directors, are supposed to know that if member boards have not paid by September 30th, that we have an opportunity to review that. So I was looking at some ways to potentially look at a policy resolution around that. It's within our bylaws. All we need to do is make sure that administration of OPSPA brings the information forward. So not really a change required. We just need to make sure that we adhere to what we've indicated should be done. My concern, I guess, around that was that we are allowing the privilege of membership to a board of directors based on membership fees being paid. Significant membership fees being paid by this one particular board. They were afforded all the rights of every other board. In fact, they were afforded an additional right to have a representation at the Executive Council because of enrollment. Yeah. So we incur additional expenses because of that. We allow them to have that voice that somehow permeates through the province, that they are making inroads and plowing the fields for us, I guess, in education, however we want to describe it, but somehow or another there's manure involved. But I think as long as we ensure that the bylaws are followed, then we would be okay. I don't think there's a need for us to change anything at this point, so I've kind of retracted my concern on that a little bit, just knowing that we already have something in place. Other than that, I think moving forward, I'm going to guess that there are going to be some resolutions coming through from boards around fees. There may be some resolutions around still going back into the negotiation mindset. Those are what I would perceive to be some of the ongoing contentious issues around the boards, around the board of directors table.
Trustee McGrath?
So, through you, Chair. So, Donald, do they have, and I did briefly look at not their bylaws, resolutions, I think it was called. When a board doesn't pay their fees, their membership fees, do they have some kind of a resolution to look after that, like a procedure?
Within the bylaws, and I'd have to pull it out. Not sure if I still have it open or not. I had the bylaw open. That
I did too, but then I lost it on my computer.
Yeah. It does indicate there is a process within the bylaws that talks about bringing a report to the board of directors if a member board hasn't paid by September 30th, and then at that point the board of directors would make a decision to, for lack of a better term, kick them out officially. I can pull it up for you though if you like.
No, I just wondered if in the bylaws there was actually a way to deal with that kind of a scenario. That's all.
Yeah, I was comfortable with the way it was worded, that it was there, that we could cover it.
And another question I want to ask, and maybe this has nothing to do with that, but what is the vehicle by which a board presents to the Ontario Public School Board an issue that they might feel is provincial? For example, they've dealt with on some of their printed materials on things like individual programming, the whole child. I remember seeing that one. Another one was, the whole forum on mental health, right? What is the vehicle for which a board would take something that they might consider to be a provincial challenge in education to the Ontario Public School Board? How do you do that? Through the region?
Well, there's a number of ways. So this is one avenue that you could use if you think it's a policy issue, so that OPSPA would create a policy that would say this is how we're going to move forward. The second one would be identifying priorities. So as you mentioned, the whole child, that is one of the key works for the priorities of OPSPA, and there's an opportunity to have input into that, which is generally through a regional meeting. And then also at any board meeting of OPSPA, if we have an issue that we feel should be brought forward to the board of directors, there's a process as a director on that board to bring that information forward. It can be done through a notice of motion if it's at that level, or if it's just an information sharing, then it would be brought forward during the sessions.
Well, I'd like to bring mathematics to the Ontario Public School Board. And I think what needs to happen provincially is there needs to be a strategic plan of action as to how our province collectively and our boards are going to move forward with the challenges we are experiencing in mathematics. I think at a board level we're doing all that we can, and we're hearing from the likes of Ian Carswell and our director as to how we're providing these additional ways of building capacity amongst our teachers and that type of thing. But I think strategically across the province we need to be looking at this. This is a province-wide challenge. And everything from the challenge that we're having with our teachers not having the skill sets that are necessary to meet the EQA scores, right down to misinterpretation and misunderstanding and mixed understandings over the curriculum. So I just think that might be something that maybe we could table. What do you think?
I'm not sure that it would be within the policy context. It might be within the key works of OPSPA, and it would fall within the criteria. So we have 4, I think it's 5 actually, key areas that we focus on. A whole child is one of those, and then within the educational side of things, we would have an opportunity to talk about the work around mathematics. It may already be in there. I don't have the knowledge of the breakdown of all of the information, but certainly that would be my feeling on where it should be brought forward, as opposed as a policy situation. So I'm not quite certain I think if you think of it from a policy standpoint, it would be something that we would try to get policy change within the government as well. So not only is OPSPA going to focus on that, but we're trying to affect change at a policy level.
At a government level?
Yeah, sorry, at a government level, yeah.
I think they need to look at it too.
They may, but I'm not certain that the curriculum itself is going to change through what we would do as a policy. But yet, through advocacy in our key work might be the better avenue. Sorry.
Okay. Trustee Karkner.
I think that issue of mathematics, Chair, through to the director, that the program committee that I serve on is presently making a presentation on EQAO to the ministry with recommendations, and we have a meeting coming up about that. But probably something like mathematics could be worked on if there was enough interest in lobbying the government to do something about it. As far as OPSPA doing something about it, we'd end up preparing a paper with recommendations. But I understand what she's trying to say is get the word to OPSPA, and perhaps it's through the committee that.
Yeah, I think it's both through the committee and through the through that key work aspect to make sure that it's embedded within that the key works that we're talking about.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on that particular area? Okay, thank you.
Through you, Chair?
Yes, Trustee Swan.
Just a couple questions to Vice Chair McDonald. In regards to Toronto not paying their fees, what is OPSPA doing about it? You said it was a significant amount of money.
It is a significant amount of money. I mean, we have to determine whether they've paid them now since February. It's created, the fact that they had not paid created some turmoil within the Toronto District School Board itself. So I think there was an initiative underway within that week to understand why they had not been paid. It was a bit of an oversight from administration, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that significant amount of money that was in the report from Toronto School Board that hadn't been paid?
Yes. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume what you're talking about is...
about $600 and something thousand.
No, I don't know that they pay $600. The overall budget for OPSPA is about $2 million.
So what are we doing? Like, they're still receiving the support of OPSPA, though, are they not?
They had been, yeah, absolutely.
So what's the next step? I guess find out if they've paid, and why is OPSPA not sticking to the process of you haven't paid by February, you're no longer eligible for our services, or there's a 30-day period? Just curious.
Yeah, the bylaws indicate that the fees have to be paid as of September 1st, the fiscal year September 1st, so it follows the school boards. So notifications are sent out in advance of September 1st to have boards pay their membership fees. If at September 30th boards have not paid, there is to be the board of directors is to be advised, and then a decision made by the board of directors.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a second question to that, Trustee Swan?
Well, I guess my supplemental would just be there has not. Am I correct in assuming there hasn't been a decision made by the board of directors at this time?
It wasn't brought to the board of directors at this time. It was discovered in a different way. So that was my concern, is that the board of directors had not been notified at that point that the Toronto had paid. So again, and as I said, I have to validate. I believe that the membership fees have been paid since then.
And as a second supplemental, if I may, please, can you just verify that at your next meeting, please?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, no more questions, comments. We're moving on to, again, Trustee McDonald, this is a standing item, a report from the Ontario Public School Association. Anything else you want to add?
Not much else. You all get the FAST reports coming out, and you see the legislative updates. So one of the things that I was going to try and bring forward at some point was a link that we can share with you, the B and the SB memos that are shared with school boards. There's a link that we can share that, so you'll see it. it doesn't always come out in, it's not very public information, I guess, sometimes, so you can have you can actually have access to that, so I'll make sure that those links are available moving forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to, Trustee Buckland, you have a question on that?
One minor note, that the next regional meeting will be April the 12th.
Yes.
Being held in Ottawa, and all trustees from our board are welcome to attend.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us that. Okay, any other questions? Okay. The next item is I'm going to ask Trustee Richards to give us a report from SEAC.
The Special Education Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, May 4th. We had a presentation from the student engagement staff. We had Student Engagement Principal John Lalonde and Vice Principal Nancy Holman, and Superintendent Susan Edwards spoke to the student transitions and resiliency initiatives in our board. Then during Susan Superintendent's report, she reported on the impact of the student voice at a recent student engagement service excellent training that was done. Susan might want to explain a little bit more about that. And all the members of SEAC were given a copy of the Courageous Canoe that was presented to all the members. Susan, did you want to talk about the student voice at your training?
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Richards. We've heard a lot tonight with the two presentations with the schools and the audits and their success and the impact of student voice and student work. And one of the things we're trying to drill down within our schools is having students at the table during their student success team meetings. And we had a number of students speak to principals, vice principals, to learning resource teachers and learning resource coaches, students with varying disabilities, telling their story and the power and the impact when they brought voice to their story and being able to tell their story, and the difference that made with them. Some of those students started telling their story in grade 10. Others right from grade 3 or grade 4 with their parents right alongside, and others later on. So we're continuing to work at bringing students' voice, either in person or in some way, making sure that is very present at all of our student success team meetings in our schools. And then we members of SEAC also received a copy of the Courageous Canoe, and I spoke about the book launch of All Means All at Central Public School.
And
Thank
just
you
a
very much.
reminder that our next meeting is Tuesday, April 1st, and Victoria Hemmings will be there that night, taking over for Susan, who's going to be away somewhere. So I invite all the trustees to attend if you happen to be around Brockville.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that report? Thank you very much. That brings us to the director's final comments.
I think I've said enough.
I think you have. Trustee McCray.
Maybe I missed something here. What happened to 8.03?
That one was when Phil Dawes reported that there will be no changes, and we passed a motion.
So we're just leaving it.
That's right.
Okay, I missed that.
That's
okay.
Okay.
That's probably a mistake. Okay.
David just told me that his mother approves of the new cameras, so that tells me right there that we've got an A rating. One thing that did happen tonight, and I thought of it earlier, and I didn't let it happen. When we're having reports come from our own staff, what we are asking the staff to do is to join us at the table right between Charlotte and Nancy and bring a chair up there. And it was my fault. I should have had Terry and should have had Phil. Well, I thought about it earlier on, and then it just slipped my mind. So if, give us the look down here if we don't do that, because it just makes sense that staff would be at the table with us as best as we can make that happen. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Do you want me to take the chair so you can do that?
No. Trustee McCray, the guy that sits beside me, Trustee McDonald, those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Thank you very much, guys. It was a great meeting.